Alright, so this is my Chronos bounce mill deck. We're using the concept of bouncing my opponent's resonators to their hand to trigger Chronos' ability where whenever a resonator is returned to their owner's hand, that player mills the top card of their deck. So we have that, and then the other effect we want to trigger is Chronos' first continuous effect, which is whenever a player draws a card or cards, they get to draw an extra card. So for example, if your opponent draws 2 cards by a card effect, he draws 1 extra. Or if he draws for his turn, he'll draw an extra, so he'll draw 2 cards per turn. You also will draw 2 cards per turn. You'll draw, an extra card for whenever you play a card effect that makes you draw a card. So you'll be able to run through your deck pretty fast, which is really nice thing. It's like everything you need is pretty much built right into Chronos, so that's pretty awesome because you can use his ability to, by paying 0, you can activate his effect where you can, during your draw phase, the card you drew, you can discard it and draw an extra, draw a card to replace that card. So you can, so in case you draw a card you don't need, discard it, draw, because you drew, you'll draw an extra card, so you essentially turn 1 card into 2 off of that ability. So moving on, simple enough. You want to make your opponent draw. If they're already playing cards, to make them draw, great, they're just helping you win. And then you want to bounce their cards, mainly the resonators, back to their hand to trigger Chronos' ability to cause them to mill. You want to keep track of the milling because you want the mills to be 5 at a time. For example, when you use Guide of Chaos, he does 2 if you actually play him and then tribute him, by banishing him, sending him from the field to the graveyard to trigger his effect. You put the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. So that's 2 cards. Then you want to play another one, 2 more cards. Right there's 4. And then bounce a resonator from their field to their hand. That's 5. Right there's 5 cards out of their deck, plus the 5 they draw at the beginning of the game. So that's 10 from the 40 card deck. Right? So that means they only have 30 more to go. So you want to make sure what you're doing is like adding up 5 here, 5 there, because it will obviously help you mill your opponent. If you can do 5 and 5, like 10 for example, in a total turn, that's obviously awesome. For example, if you happen to have 2 Guide of Chaos in your life break zone, if you're playing the format which lets you use life break, which is original, I think it is, no, origin format, I forgot what's the term, but you get the idea. If you're playing that format, then you have access to life break, and you can take advantage of his life break ability, which is put the top 5 cards of your opponent's main deck to his graveyard. So right there it does 5. If you get 2 Guides of Chaos in your life break, that's 10 cards right off the bat, right? Which is great to have that. So moving on, we have High Tide Dancer. When it enters the field, return target resonator to the owner's hand. So you'll bounce your opponent's resonator to his hand, which means he'll have to resummon it the following turn. But because you bounce it back to his hand, he has to mill the top card of his deck because of Chronos' ability, which is what you want. You want him to mill, and you want to slow him down. So bouncing resonators on his side field to his hand is really good. Definitely good against resonators that might have some addition cards, so that way the addition cards will be sent to the grave because they're not attached to anything anymore. We got Swordsmiths of the Full Moon. she has flying, but she also has enter ability, which is return target resident to his owner's hand. You see the obvious theme. Same thing, trigger Chronos' ability to mill your opponent's deck. And it's also useful when you're bouncing a card that makes your opponent draw. So if your opponent has a card that whenever it enters, he mandatorily draws a card, that's great because you'll just bounce it back to their hand, and if they play it again, they'll draw and draw and draw and draw. So they'll just be milling themselves out every time they do that. You know what I mean? They'll just draw, and you just take full advantage of that. And again, you want to do like 5 cards from their main deck at a time. You know what I mean? Because 5 at a time adds up real quick. You know, to like 40 plus. Right? We have Tsunami Spirit. Again, enter ability, return target resident to his owner's hand. Then we have Grave Phantom. Since your opponent's gonna be milling a lot, they might have something really, really good in their graveyard, or a resonator that might have a really good effect. Maybe one that will help you further make your opponent mill, or wipe out their board so that way you can stall a little bit longer. Because even stalling has its benefits, because your opponent is going to be drawing, because of Chronos' ability, they're going to be drawing like 2 cards every turn anyway during their draw phase. So being able to stall and have some type of effect that makes it where your opponent can't play a card, or if they do play a card, you can tap your creature and counter. Hypothetical. It depends on the resonator that you are copying the abilities of from your opponent's graveyard. But if your opponent just happens to have a creature that has a really, really powerful effect that can reduce your opponent to playing only 1 card per turn or something like that, you want to definitely copy that and take full advantage. And your opponent just be drawing every turn, discarding, drawing, discarding, because there's not much they can do because you lock them out, right? And they'll just deck out. And plus, just being able to copy a really powerful monster, plus you get the attack and defense of that creature, so that creature's pretty strong, like a 1500 or something. You're just whacking your opponent with 1500. You can win with that alone. So that's an added bonus of Grave Phantom, is she could be a win condition herself, so you don't have to just solely rely on decking your opponent out. Aqua Magic Tempest, it's your mass resonator removal spell, obviously. Return all resonators to their owner's hand. So you can get rid of a whole bunch of resonators on the field at the same time, and cause your opponent to mill a lot of cards for doing so, especially when you have no resonators on your side field. Let's say you block with most of your resonators, so your resonators are dying and your opponent still has resonators. You play this, bounce all the resonators back to the hand, he'll mill because of that. And then if you play, if you have enough mana, which is a total of 8 mana to do this combo, you can play New Stream afterwards, or just a turn later. But if you could do it in the same time, that's awesome, right? Play New Stream, and then they'll discard their whole hand, and then draw 4 cards. Technically 5 because of Chronos. So they'll draw 5 cards, and again, 5 cards out their deck, and you just wiped out all the resonators they had. And then the other thing is, if they ran out of resonators because you milled a lot of them, you discarded it with, you bounced a lot of them to the hand and then discarded it with New Stream, or whatnot. If your opponent ends up running out of resonators, that's great for you, because now your opponent has nothing he can battle with. He has nothing he can do you damage with, so he's just gonna deck out anyway because you got rid of all his resonators. By making him mill, it makes it hard for him to draw resonators. He'll probably draw everything else except resonators, because all the resonators keep getting milled. Next card is Crime of Wave and Abandon. Really, really good card. It's an instant spell chant card. Cancel target spell, return it to the owner's hand, then draw a card from your main deck. Really good card because whatever spell you counter with this, I believe this is true, but I might be wrong. But I think when a player plays a creature, that counts as a summon spell. So you can't counter a summon spell. So you can use this to counter a resonator, bouncing it back to your opponent's hand, and then trigger Chronos' effect because you did return a resonator on the field back to the owner's hand. If the stat counts, you know, on the chain, whatever the chase counts as being on the field. But if not, it doesn't matter. It's a good card to counter to prevent your opponent from being able to play something really, really big and devastating. So you slow them down long enough for you to play your stuff. Let's say you play your new stream. You know what I mean? You play your new stream to try to deck out your opponent, but then your opponent plays their crime and wave and abandon, right? To try to stop you, but then you play yours to stop theirs, and then you know your new stream will go through, and boom, you know, the benefit. Or you play Aqua Magic Tempest, they try to counter it, and then you counter the counter. You know, you get the idea. And then you'll draw a card on top of that with Chronos' ability. Draw another card, so you get 2 cards to replace the fact that you played this card. And it's a really cute card, right? Wash Away, another instant spell chant, and you know it has a life break ability, which is return target resident to its owner's hand. Its regular ability when you play it as a spell chant instant is return target resident to its owner's hand. It only costs 2 to play. So it's a really good card. It's a good way of keeping stuff off the field, especially something really, really powerful. You know, you can use it defensively, offensively, bounce something out your way and then attack your opponent directly or whatever. Especially if you have Grave Phantom on the field, you can use this to clear the way for Grave Phantom to attack your opponent directly. Of course, you trigger Chronos' ability to make your opponent mill. Now your opponent has a resonator in his hand. You know, I mean, you can play New Stream and get rid of it, so you can combo it. So right there, that is 6 right there in order to pull off that 2-card combo. Then we have Landing Point of Ice, which is an addition field card, and then you play it, has a contained effect, which is all resonators coming to the field rested. You know, which is really useful. Again, stall, you know, equals your opponent just drawing and losing because they're gonna run out of cards eventually because you're stalling. Because especially this is useful against any deck that's swift attack, any type of swift rush deck, right? So this is very useful against that. Good against any combo based deck that summons a whole bunch of monsters in a single turn and then they all have swift. Obviously this will stop that. The other thing is the fact that this combos well with your bounce creatures, because your opponent's creatures will come into play tapped. While you have this on the field, then you play your bounce creature. It will come into play tapped, bouncing your opponent's creature back to their hand. Then it's their turn. If they summon their creature again, it'll just get tapped. Right? It'll be rested, as it were. And then it'll be your turn. You'll have your untap or your unrest phase, unrest your creature, and then you'll be able to attack. You'll be able to attack your opponent directly and deal them damage because the creatures are tapped, so they'll be unable to use those creatures to block you. So you can attack with that. And as you can see, there's more than just milling. It's just that, like, the main aspect is that mill. You'll probably win 60% of your duels by milling, 40% by actually attacking. You know, but the mill will be beneficial, especially if you want to get Grey Phantom's ability and win with that alone. And then in your Magic Stone area, you have in Magic Stone deck, you have 20 Magic Stones, water Magic Stones. And that's the end of the deck profile.